Hi guys, thanks for joining me today on my YouTube channel. And today a shout out to my faithful YouTube watcher Anna, who suggested this video. She wants to see the difference between Marie's and Turner's design gouache. Now, I recently priced these, I think just yesterday, which was January 5th, on Jerry's Artorama. Now, for the Marie's set, these are 12 mil tubes. For the 24 set, which I got, Jerry's has it for $14.37, so it's quite reasonable. It's great for students. It's great if you want to play with gouache and, you know, just see what it's like. The Turner set is a professional set. This one is 18 colors, and these are 25 mil tubes, so they're a lot bigger. And this was $76.89 US. Youch. I know I didn't pay that much for it. That would be way beyond my budget. I got this months ago and I got it on sale, so I know it wasn't anywhere near that. But let's take a look and see how these compare. Now I'm using just my Canson XL. I've got it right here. I use this for a lot of swatches. I love this. It's a mixed media pad. I swear by this pad. It's got really a nice tooth, but it's not too rough. And I'm also using my Stonehenge Aqua Press black paper because some of these colors really show up on black. I recently did a journal flip through, black journal flip through, which I'll link up top here for you if you want to go back to that and take a look. If you stuck around long enough to see the pictures at the end, I mean, there's some really, there's some really nice effects you can get with gouache on black paper. I saw this and I said, you know what? I'm going to play a little bit more with this and see what kind of effects I can get on black paper. But look at that. That just was really a nice, fun thing to do. It's not perfect. It's not something I would sell at this point, but I could make it into a painting that I could. And it's really a nice effect that you get on the black paper. So I've got both of these that we're going to test on. Now I divided my paper into two sections, one for Turner, one's for Marie's, and I put a black line in the middle there. Don't mind the cat fur. When you have cats, you've got cat fur. Okay, so I've got a line down there so we can swatch right through so we can see how opaque these colors really are. Let's start with the Marie's. And I'm going to get a sheet of this black paper. Just going to pull it out of here. These papers are really thick, these Stonehenge black papers. I think I'm pulling out like 5 pages at once, but it's really 1 page. It's, what does it say? It is 300 GSM, 140 pound. So that's why it feels so darn thick. But let's go ahead and get these in here and see what we can do. Sorry about that. All right, now I will go ahead and swatch all these Marie's colors for you so that you can see. I'm not going to name them, but let's just get them on here so you can see the difference. And what I'll do is I'm going to take some right out of the tube. If I can get the tube open, we're good. That is another thing I noticed, that if you leave any paint on the edges of your tube when you put the lid back on, it tends to glue it back on. I'm sure that will be the case with Turner as well. I'm not trying to isolate out Marie's for that issue, but make sure you take a cloth and wipe the sides of your tube before you put the cap back on so you don't have that issue. Now, I didn't do that on all of mine. When I'm done here with this video, I will definitely do that. So let me go ahead and put some of the Marie's on here. And this is going to, I'm not going to, again, say the name, but there's your first one. You can see it lets a little bit of that color through. The white is quite thick. Okay, here's Marie's. I better do it the same way here on this one so you don't get confused. But there's Marie's. And that's pretty thick. I mean, you know, it's not, you're not seeing a whole lot of that black in there. Of course, I put it on pretty thick. I'm not thinning these out, but let's go on to the next one. I'm going to rinse them off in between So we'll have a nice fresh sample. They give you two whites. They're two different types. I think one is like a titanium and the other one is a zinc or something. Now that one's a lot thicker. I probably have enough on there to do that. You can see that's a little bit different white. But again, pretty thick. Not a lot of problems with that showing through. Now I do remember though having to put several coats of these Marie's paints on my paper in some projects. So they don't necessarily all have the same opacity. There's one that doesn't. This is probably like a lemon yellow. Let's check it on here. Oh yeah, see? So you are going to have some issues with certain colors. Maybe they use a different formulation for the white. I'm sure they do because there's different pigments in it. And that is going to give them, or give you, more opacity than on some of the colors. Okay, let's just go down the list. I'm going to see if I can do this pretty quickly because I don't want this to be a tedious video, but you want to see what's going on. There's an orange. Try that. I'm trying to, for the sake of the test, use the same amount of paint on each test paper so that it's fair. I don't want to be like, you know, unfair about it and biased. Now I'll tell you, I do use these Maries. I've used them before and I am very happy with them. For the price, you really can't beat them. You really cannot. These are fantastic for playing around, for color mixing, for testing, for trying out different, see now that's very opaque. That one seems very opaque, although I seem to have used a lot of color on that one. But these are great for trying different thumbnails. You know, you want to test out different color schemes or different palettes for a painting. This would be fantastic. This would be ideal for doing that without feeling like you're wasting or using up your really good paints. I'm just going down the line here little by little, trying to make this equal. Really isn't easy. But you can see some of these are more opaque than others. Oops. Some of them are more opaque. That one's a little less opaque. But you can see that's the first orange there is really thick. I kind of laid that on pretty thick. The second one you can see through a little bit. I'll bet if I put that other one on a little thinner, you'd be able to see through it too. They give you a nice range of colors. They do have sets. I know the Marie's comes in different sets. You can get like a 12, 20, 18, 24, something like that. And before I got the 12, and it was fine. It was good enough, but I had them for years and years and years. I put them aside for a while, and when I went back to them, half of them were dried up. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna get a new set. And I figured while I was at it, the price difference isn't that much. What do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whoops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I did that one already? Yeah, I did. Oh, I think I did that one twice. All right, let's... Yeah, I did. Sorry about that, guys. Let's try this and see if this is any different. Oh, yeah, it is. So I guess I did that one twice. That one orange I did twice. No worries. We'll go back to it. Some of these paints are pretty thick. Some of these Marie's colors. So if you water them down so that you can actually use them, you're going to lose some of this opacity. You're going to get a thinner paint that's going to show the layers of the paper through. So you may have to put several coats on. I did notice that when I was doing my artwork there. But you know, again, if this is a study, if these are just playing around, seeing what things do, it's not going to be the end of the world. What is that piece of thing in there? Look at that beautiful color though. That's a really nice color. Try this one. Oh, okay. Now we're getting into the colors where it really isn't going to matter much on the black paper. So I don't know if I'm going to actually keep swatching on the black, but we'll see. All right, let's just keep going. We're on the next row now. There's a bright red. That one is pretty transparent on the white, and I see a lot of the black showing through on the black too. I'll kind of hold these cards up at the end so that you can see what a little bit more how these performed. And again, you know, you can go on the website. I'm sure Jerry's has the names of the colors on there. You can find them somewhere on an art supply website, or maybe on Marie's. Maybe Marie's has a website where it shows what the colors are, what the names are. So rather than me taking extra long to look for the names. Alright, and by the way, I'm just using a real, like, you know, one of these cheapy sets that you get on Amazon that have like a gazillion brushes in them for, I don't know, $4.99. They're not that expensive. They're really cheap brushes, because sometimes the gouache paint can be really tough on your brushes. It does get in the work its way up in the ferrules, and that makes it hard to clean, especially if you let it dry at all. They are water soluble, so you can get that out again, but you certainly don't want to soak your brush in, you know, upright in a container and ruin, even if it's the cheapy brushes here. You know, you're going to use them more than once. You're not going to use them once and throw them out. But I wouldn't use really good brushes on these unless you're really, you know, careful with them. Good watercolor brushes. I know some people have come out with oh geez, I just had a very nasty accident here. The whole thing globbed all over the side of the tube here, and oh no, it wasn't coming out, so I of course pushed harder, and you can't get it back in the tube once it's out, you know. Oh, that's a terrible waste. But look at that beautiful color. Of course it's a beautiful color too. Oh, and it's one I use a lot, so that makes it even worse. Alright, so I had a big disaster with that color, and I squeezed a little too hard to get it out. It had a little blockage in it because I'd used it before and it dried on the tip, and it decided to give way all at once. So that was my fault totally, and I paid the price. So here's this must be like an ultramarine. Of course, I'm still going to go down the line on the black one, I guess. Really, I tell you, for a bargain paint, these Maries really aren't horrible. Like, some paints you get are just definitely paints that they use in grade school. You know, they're just not, there's nothing to them. They don't even color. There's no pigment. These do have quite a bit of pigment in them, and the binder that they're using is not horrible. It may not be as opaque as a quality paint, professional paint, but they're not terrible. And really, if you want to play around with paints, I do recommend these. They're a nice little set that you can use for just playing around, like I did in my black paper journal. I just played around. I played around one day. I said, you know, let me see what gouache does on black. And this is the kind of thing you should use your journals for. And don't keep them locked away. Don't put them on a shelf and, oh, you know, I can only use them when I'm doing a finished piece. They're really for experimentation. And some of these journals like this are so inexpensive. You know, if you're careful with your paper and you don't just throw it away and just didn't throw it away. You know, if you're using your paper wisely, it'll last a while. And you'll learn a lot out from it. You'll get a lot more from the paper that you waste than your one good finished piece that you want to take, you know, extra care with. So don't be afraid to use your art supplies, please. That's what they're for. We only have one life. You know, enjoy it. You don't want to get to the end of your life and say, Geez, you know, I wish I would have done more dishes. You know, you're not going to do that. You're going to say, wow, I have that paint set. I never used it. Don't be lying in the hospital bed and think that. You know what I mean? Okay, we're getting to the end of our test sheet here. So I'm going to have to start another row up there. I'll just squeeze it in because I only have like 6 or 7 more colors on this Marie's. I didn't happen to plan to do this comparison. It wasn't something I thought of to do for my YouTube channel. So I don't have an equal 18 to 18 or 12 to 12 color set to compare. It's 18 to 24, but it is what it is. Some of the colors will match. I'm sure they both had an ultramarine, or they both do have an ultramarine, things like that, the basic ones. They both have a black and a white, so you can kind of compare those two. But really, it's the opacity, it's the vibrancy that we're looking at. It's the feel of the paint when we compare these. All right, I'm going to start another line here too. Let me get a marker going here. Let that dry just a little bit, and I think I'll squeeze the last one on the bottom here. Oh, I don't have a line under it. Nope, can't do that. All right, let me put it on there, and then hopefully that's dry. I don't want to pick any of that up. I can feel how this is, I don't have a lot on here. There we go. That's better. I hope this kind of video is helpful for you, and not just a boring video. I don't want to do boring videos, but I have such a limited time when I'm able to film videos. And again, I apologize for the lighting. It's awful. It's a cloudy day, but everyone's out of the house. I'm getting my stuff, setting up, which takes, 30 minutes to set up. So you can see that this one, I don't think I put on very thickly. That one's kind of thin. No matter how thick I put it on, it's got like a thinness to it. But I'm trying to bring you videos that would be of interest to you, that you'd find useful. And I hope this helps, maybe somebody will buy the Marie's. The Marie's is going to be sufficient for their use rather than having to spend money on a professional paint when you don't really find you need it. Based on a video that someone does on YouTube. I've done that too. I watch unboxings. I watch unboxings just as a kind of relaxing thing. It's just kind of fun to watch what people get. And sometimes they'll do paintings or swatches while they're doing it. And that's one of the ways that I know what colors I want to get too. So I hope when I do that, it's helpful for other people. To be honest, I never really swatched these out like this, so this is helpful for me too. So thank you, Anna, if you're watching. If you are, make a comment down below. And everybody else, please comment down below and tell me if this is helpful for you, if you like this, if you'd like me to do it a different way, or what you'd like to see. If you'd like to see any of the other supplies that you've seen on my unboxings tested out, let me know. Anna also gave me another suggestion along with this one, and that was, what do you do with a blank page? The blank page syndrome. How do you fill a sketchbook? What do you do when you sit down and you want to paint and you're all excited, you're all inspired to paint, and you just blank? Or you're afraid to use that precious sketchbook. You've got a nice sketchbook. Somebody bought you a nice sketchbook that you'd never buy yourself. Or maybe you treated yourself and, you have to use it. You have to use it. You can't sit there and let it sit on the shelf and look at it. You want to use it. But what do you draw? What do you paint? What's worthy of that expensive paper? I'll tell you what. You are. Every one of you has a creative streak in you, or you wouldn't be watching this. You are all creative. You all have that in you. You have all done paintings that you are proud of. And that tells you that you can do it again. So don't sit there and say, oh, I can't, you know, do it. Use your paper. Use your supplies. That's what they're there for, and that's how you're going to get better. If you're worried about ruining a good, beautiful sketchbook, draw a drawing on, you know, do a line drawing on another sketchbook, transfer it over to your good paper, and then paint it. That takes a lot of the stress off of you. You know, test your colors on a side swatch. You know, take a side swatch like this, test your color first. Is that the one I want to use? No, I need a little more of this. And then, until you get it right, and then put it on there. That will take a lot of the stress off you so that you can use your papers and your supplies for what they're for. Develop your art, develop your creativity. You all have it in you. Okay, so we did the Maries. Let's go on to the Turners. I'm going to rinse my water and be back. Okay, so now let's use the Turners and try that out. But first let's look at the eye candy. Oh, I love it when they swatch the colors right on the tube. It just makes it so, I don't know, so inspiring. You really want to sit down and just take a look and see how you can, what you can do with the paints. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the Turner. Now the Turner does not come with that cap opening on there. It's already open, so you just squeeze it out. But I would suggest the same thing to wipe the container off before you close it down for a length of time. And I'm going to do that after, when we're not on camera, because it's just going to be too time consuming. So I'll take a little bit out. Now this seems a little watery, but I don't know. Wow. The color, the vibrancy right away. I can see the difference on that vibrancy. Look at that. Even on the black you can see that. But it seemed a little thin. That seems a little thin. A little watery. Okay, so let's see. We're going to go down the line and just take every different color. I guess I can tell you what these are because it's right on the top. That one was Brilliant Violet. This one is Rose Violet. Oh, look at that pretty color. Here I am looking at it off camera. And you're like, what? Where is it? Where is it? Look at that, like a magenta. And I don't think my, I'm going to put a little more on there. I don't think my brush is terribly wet. But that's kind of transparent. It's not terribly opaque. Not as opaque as I thought it would be. So that's unusual. And again, you know, different brands are different. So this one is Permanent Red. And these, there might be, maybe there's a little bit of moisture. See how there's a, I don't know if you can see that. See how there's a little bit of like water on the top or binder? I don't want to get that on my brush and then say, oh, it's not opaque. It's not an opaque color. When what I'm getting is the binder. That shouldn't really separate. Now I've had these, or maybe it does, I don't know. I've had these in a relatively cool spot, so it might be my fault. Maybe that's causing the separation. I'm going to put this on here first. Wow, that's really watery. And again, it's because this particular one is watery. Now I'm getting the paint, it looks like. I'll go over that again, because that wasn't fair. That's going to make you think, oh, these are really watery paints. Wow, but they do seem to be a little bit watery. All right, next one is going to be Permanent Scarlet. I never really much liked these scarlet kind of colors. I don't know, I don't love that color by itself. Now see this one, I don't like the color by itself, but see this one is very thick. There's none of that water on there, so maybe that's unfair. See, now that's covering it quite a bit. So I don't know if it's the particular color or pigment, or if it is just that there was a lot of water on the first few there. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But let's go on. This one is permanent orange. They do have a really nice color range, and you can see, look at the vibrancy on these. You can see the vibrancy compared to Marie's. I mean, these are like watercolors. My goodness, they're really like bright. Look at that, how bright that is. Of course, let's see how it's going to dry. They dry darker. I'm trying to remember the rule with gouache. I think it dries darker. Some things dry lighter, some things dry darker. Okay, this one is yellow ochre. One of my favorites, most useful colors because it's in the brown range, and I do like, I've been getting into browns lately. I like all the different browns, as you saw on one, or you will see on one of my other videos where I do an unboxing. Yes, I have another unboxing. You know, I gotta stay off the, what am I doing there? I'm doing over here. I have to stay off the Jackson site, really, because it's just not good for me. I've got to stop watching these unboxings on YouTube. When I don't have time to paint or I don't have a place to paint, I oftentimes watch unboxings or I watch journal flip-throughs and things like that. So I like to see what other artists are doing. But I get caught up in those unboxings and they're not good for my budget. But they're art supplies. Shh, don't tell anybody. No, I don't hide. I'm not like a closet shopper that, you know, has to buy a whole bunch of shoes and then run inside and hide them in the closet. If you are, no offense, but you know, I'm not doing that with art supplies. I have to curb my habit now because I have no place to paint. If you've been following my channel at all, you know that's one of the big things that's bugging me. And you know, I'm still technically painting on my lap, although I came up with a slight solution by using a, what do they call it? Now I can't remember what they call it. It's something students carry around, art students carry around. It's made out of mason board. It's got a clip on one side. Clipboard, yes, clipboard. But I'm sorry, I didn't tell you what these were. This was Permanent Yellow Deep. That's a beautiful shade. I like that, by the way. It's like a cadmium. And Permanent Lemon. This one is Permanent Green Light. But I still do put that on my lap while I paint. So I'm still painting on my lap in a small section, small corner on the love seat. And it suffices because I'd rather paint than not paint. I'd rather draw than not draw. But I need a space where I can spread out. A table like this, where I can set up and not have to break it down every single day. I'm going to take a break for a second and change my water because it's getting very muddy in the red-orange range, and I don't want to muddy up these blue-greens. Well, I don't know if that last part filmed. For some reason my camera went off. I think it times out. That was Permanent Green Mid. This is Turquoise Blue. Oh, this has to be one of my favorites. But I was talking about the wateriness or the binder that seems to be coming out at the tip of some of these colors. And I don't want you to judge the whole set by that and think, oh, this is poor quality because it's all watery. Now, did I skip one? I think I did. I got the light green there, I got that one, I got turquoise. I skipped the Viridian. Well, that's what happens when your camera dies on you. It died for a second. I don't know why. I think it timed out. Okay, here's the Viridian. Oh, is that a beautiful shade? Look at that. All right, who wants this? I want to open this up and play with this and just like do something with it. That is really gorgeous. Wow. Okay, keep going. Calm down, calm down. Sky Blue is the next one. Now you can see as these have dried already, these over here, you can see that the pigmentation is really intense and it's very bright. It's a lot brighter than Marie's. So whatever, oh, look at that. Oh, that's another gorgeous one. Oh, to die for, sky blue. What color is this? See, I don't know the colors really. Does it say? I don't see it on there. Wow. I don't see it on there. Oh, there it is, PB17. Phthalo blue. Okay, that's why. I tend to like phthalo blue. All right, cobalt blue. You know, in sets, I don't know why they include cobalt blue. To me, I don't really use it a lot. I'd rather see an ultramarine blue. That would be more useful. This one is a little bit watery. Well, wow, it's a nice vibrant color though. This is watery at the opening, as I'm saying. It's got that binder kind of leaking out a little bit. So take that with a grain of salt or sand or whatever they say. Now we're getting into, okay, I didn't get here quick enough and the label looked black, but this is Prussian blue. So they do include a Prussian blue, but to me I don't really find very much use for cobalt blue. It's a little too bright for my use. Look at that, ultramarine blue. I'm going to start another row up here because this is just too, of course you're not seeing much on the black. It's dark on black. What are you going to see? But I'll continue since I've done it already. You know, and on the topic of wasting your art supplies, I mean, this isn't cheap paper, this black paper, but I'm going to use it for other things. This is useful in itself. It's worth a lot to me to be able to look at this and remember what colors I've got. Now this one is burnt sienna. Now we're getting into the favorite browns here, and I'm running out of line to do this on the test paper. So let me go ahead and I'm not taking time to wipe off the tops before I put the lids back on. So this is going to be such a tedious thing after I'm done filming this. Not only do I have to edit, but I have to go back and clean off the caps. Hopefully they're not too dry by then. This one is black. What do we expect we're going to see? There's a lot of that liquid in the top of it there. But here's our black. Almost could have fitted on the bottom. And black, what are you going to see? Black on black? I should have put a white line on there. If I had a white Copic marker, or Posca rather, I could have done that probably. And white, of course, what is white going to look like? I don't know. Never seen white before. Okay, this is going to not come out of the tube so easily. Why not? There we go. That's rather thick. Alright, so white on there. That's rather thick. That's a very thick one. That feels like a different formulation. That's really, look at how that covers versus the Marie's. You can see the streaks of the brush on the Marie's, and you really don't see the streaks, you really don't see the brush streaks on a lot of these versus the Marie's. So that's one of the differences there. Again, I would say the vibrancy is so much better on the Turners. The Turners were more watery. I don't know if that really means less quality, but it's just, it was a more watery experience, whereas the Marie's felt like it had a lot of binder in it. It felt like more like tempera paint, whereas these are more like very thick watercolor. Although, I mean, you can see the opacity on most of these is good. The yellows, not so great, but same with that. I mean, you're going to have problems with the yellows there. There might be other brands that have a better opacity with yellow, but at least you can see the difference here. Now, one other thing I did want to mention with gouache paint, because it's new, it's been new to me as far as really concentrating on using it. And one of the things I noticed is yes, they're water soluble. When they dry, they're not like acrylics. You can reactivate them. I've been using these little paper plates, just as palettes, which are great. You can toss them after you're done, and they're not going to cause too much of an environmental issue. But when these dry, and I'm working with the Marie's first, they're very hard to re-wet. Even if I take a dropper and I use the dropper and put water in them, let them sit for a few, you still have to scrub. So watch using your good brushes. Be real careful with that. You're better off, if you're going to do that, use something like this. Or if you can, I got this from Jackson's. I just got this. And it's a scrubber. It's basically a scrubber. This is the small one. They have a small and they have a large available. I'll try to link it below because it's really a handy tool. And you can scrub out your paints and activate them again. Then use your brush to pick it up and paint. So you're not ruining your brush and wearing your brush down so much. Now with Jackson's, here comes the shameless plug. I am affiliated with Jackson's, so I do get a little bit of a stipend if you order from the links that I include below. Now, the product doesn't cost you any more. It's the same price as if you went on their site and bought it, but it does help me tremendously. It helps me to buy some supplies that I can share with you, and it helps me to keep painting. It keeps my spirits up. So thank you if you have used the links before. Even if you go in and you want to look at this and you decide not to get it, if you look around and say, oh, I need something else anyway, and you get some paint or something else, I still get a stipend from that purchase if you use my link to get into the site. So thank you ahead of time. For those of you who've done it, thank you if you are going to do it. I really do appreciate it. Okay, that aside, I do hope this really helped you and helped you to see kind of the differences between the two. Again, I know the Turner is a professional paint. If I were to paint something that I intend to sell or do some commission, I will use the Turner one. I will not use the Marie's. Nothing against Marie's. It's a great set. It's excellent for students. Excellent quality for the money. Excellent value for the money. Look at the range of colors is great. It gives you everything you need to try and to play around with gouache. Definitely recommend it. But again, the caution, if you are using something for your sales, for your professional sales, use the better grade, the good quality paints. All right, well, I ran out of space on my card, and I put a partially used card in, so I hope I have enough space on it. What I wanted to try was to see if it was true that if you run out of a certain color gouache, you can mix white gouache with paint, with your color. So let's take a look. I have some Turner Ultramarine Blue, and I'm going to take a little dab of that and mix that with my gouache. Of course, I wet it down quite a bit, which I shouldn't have done. See if I can get some of that moisture off of there. All right, a little bit more. Okay, a little bit more. Okay, so here's Ultramarine Blue with the gouache. Technically, I don't know why this wouldn't work, because watercolor is water-based and gouache is water-based. And of course, I watered it down too much for the sake of this demo, but let's see if that works. Look at that, it does work. I imagine if you didn't water it down as much, that would work in a pinch. If you need to, or if you don't want to buy a certain color, and you need one color in your set, you've used that over and over again, try it. It might, it might save you some money. All right, well, I hope this helped you, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please leave me a comment below. Let me know if you want to see more like this, and I thank you for subscribing if you have. If you haven't, go ahead and do it, and hit that like button. That helps me as well. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you as soon as I can.